Welcome to BookWorthy. Today we're talking with Marina Doughty about her middle grade book titled Sincerely Diary. This is a graphic novel about a girl who writes in her diary and her diary writes back, with an unexpected ending that will catch you off guard and teach young girls what real friendship looks like. Welcome to BookWorthy, Marina.
Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. Now, your book sends us to middle school. And I must tell you, when I read it, I definitely had some middle school flashbacks. So I wanted to start us off with rating your middle school experience. So from 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest or the best, where did your middle school experience fall?
Well, the book is actually for 6th grade, which I know for other people it might be considered middle school. For me, 6th grade was still elementary school, so I know it's like a weird in between, but I'll just rate my 6th grade experience, and I would say it was probably about an 8. I did enjoy 6th grade, just because it was my first time going to public school. I went to private school up until 5th grade. So it was kind of exciting for me, but there was a lot of still drama. So I had fun, but still some drama.
I think that's kind of one of those things we can never get out of, that time in school and that, early tween age. I think there's just drama in general, right? But I think, what is it? Yeah. Well, I mean, I have 3 boys, and let me just tell you, the boys can throw some drama too.
That's true.
Well, Sincerely Diary deals with understanding friendships and relationships. So who was your best friend in 6th grade or middle school?
Oh, that was as drama as I had. It was like a changing best friend, I had one best friend, and then one day it was another best friend. So, it was kind of like, okay, well, in this moment I'm best friends with her, and this moment I'm best friends with her. So I feel like there was kind of like an even level of best friend.
Depended on what day it was, right?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of one of those, in that young age, still trying to figure out who they are. And I remember in 6th and 7th, I had like 2 best friends, and we hung out all the time. But once boys and clothing started to become a thing or be very important, there definitely was this divide that happened. And, they went one way and I went another.
I know. So many new friends.
With a lot of drama.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, tell us a little bit about your inspiration for this book, Marina.
So it actually started off as a picture book. The diary was the main character, and diary is trying to tell the reader how to keep a secret, and just talking about different animals you can trust. And it was kind of silly. So it actually went to acquisitions at a small press, and it got rejected because the topic of secrets is a little controversial for little kids, which I totally understand. And that wasn't my intention. I was just trying to do like a silly little picture book. And I had a writing mentor at the time, and I sent a manuscript to him to get critiqued, and they like, well, what do you think about this? And he was saying, I think, what do you think about writing it as a middle grade novel? And I was like, every time I write a picture book, that was like the feedback. People are like, it sounds like it's a book for an older audience. So I completely changed, obviously I don't have any like make-believe animals that talk or anything in my middle grade book. So I changed that, but I kept diary as main character because I really liked having a unique main character.
I really enjoyed like the interaction between Anna Marie, kind of the main character, and the diary, and I love how it introduced both secrets and how that them keeping secrets affected the relationships around them.
Yeah.
But also how diary almost became kind of a different type of friendship relationship that sometimes people have to deal with, especially in middle school. So I really enjoyed that play and back and forth. And what is it? I love that Diary had her own backstory of drama that she had to contend with, her own emotions and such. So I thought that was a really, really fun. But were there anything in your life that led to that kind of, I don't know, those topics being of interest to you?
Yeah, definitely. I would say I really really wanted to write about betrayal, because that's something that I experienced actually as an adult, and so I felt like I could really write into that, and how people can like really deceive you and make you think, that they're your best friend, and you can tell them anything, and then they go and turn on you. And I realized, like kids are really getting deceived these days. And I think this would be good and helpful for them to see that things that look good and sound good and, might seem innocent, they're actually, you have to be careful, and you have to look for those red flags, make sure you're not getting tricked into telling people, some deep things about yourself when they're not really, they don't really have your best interest. So that was one reason why I wrote that. Another reason why I wrote it was because, I loved writing about boys in my diary growing up. I loved writing about fashion. I had like a little fashion company with my friend. And so I thought, oh, this would be kind of fun to write about. And I'm sure kids would like it, maybe because I liked that at that age.
It is neat how your own experiences influence us to make it very relatable, easy for kids to connect with, because I think at that, 6th grade age, they're kind of that 11, 12, kind of that different, not quite a teen, but not quite a, kid anymore. And there is a lot of that really coming into understanding the world and understanding that, not every friend that we have is going to have their best interest at heart, and being able to discern that is so important in our culture today. Now, you have also done a devotional kind of as a little extra resource that goes with this book. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the devotional covers a few different topics. I wrote my notes so that I wouldn't forget what all it covers. Let's see. Yeah, so it covers how God made us, because Anna Marie is really trying to change her appearance to get accepted by her friends, by her dad. So I really wanted to help kids see, well, what does the Bible say about how God created us? And should we be trying to change ourselves to please other people? So again, people pleasing. What does the Bible have to say about that? Are we trying to please God, or are we trying to please man? And that comes into play when there's a lot of peer pressure. What everyone else is doing, and you don't want to be like the odd man out. So I wanted to focus on that in the devotional. Friendship. What does the Bible say about friendship? How do we find friends? Bad friends. How bad friends could influence us. So talk about deception and what the Bible says about deception. Acknowledging and confessing sin. So Anna Marie doesn't obviously talk about God in the book, but there's a part where she does realize her humility. She has to humble herself and confess her flaws and what she's done wrong. And I think Christian parents and kids can talk about how that relates to humbling ourselves and confessing our sins to God when we mess up. And then protecting the vulnerable parts of ourselves. So, there's a time and a place to tell people the very deep parts of our soul, things that are personal and, even our sin, we don't want to go and confess things to people who are going to like throw it into the public and make fun of us, So I think it's just using wisdom and who we choose to share those very vulnerable parts of ourselves with. And so I kind of wanted to make the devotional to help people and guide people through like a biblical lens of my book, and using kind of my book as like a practical example of how people are living their lives, especially like tweens, and how this can relate to their middle school or sixth grade experience. Or, I know younger kids are reading my book. It's not just middle school or sixth graders, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, how they can navigate those relationships of peer pressure and just making sure you're living your life for God. I wanted to outline that and kind of make it a fun, like, reflection on the book. So obviously, if parents and kids want to do the devotional, you want to read the book first. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of spoilers. So FYI.
Good to know. We don't want any spoilers, right?
Yeah.
I know I'm trying to hold my tongue too, because there's just some really unique things that happen with Anna Marie and her friends and in her family that really drive both the drama as well as that establishing what is a good friend. Where is our identity? Feeling love and accepting love and all that is all great themes that you have throughout the book. And I love that you've expanded that into a biblical narrative and conversation also in that extra resource. Now, what is it? I think what's really great about your book is that it can, like you had said, go to younger readers. It doesn't just have to be kids that are like over 10, but it really does set up what friendship is and how friendship is important, because I think our kids are exposed to so much younger nowadays. Yeah. What is it? With my own kids, it seemed like, the bullying and drama that happened in middle school when I was growing up was happening in like third grade for him. And it was just one of those, I love that you've, made it a book that is really accessible to kids, no matter what their reading level is, but in a way that addresses so many different types of friendships. Because in those early elementary years, your friendships are pretty much whoever's you're hanging out with that day. But there does become an emotional level and vulnerability that can come into play as they continue through their schooling.
Yeah.
So what do you hope to communicate to kiddos with this book?
I would say honesty, just learning the importance of honesty and how God wants us, how God made us, and how He doesn't want us to change ourselves when it comes to peer pressure, just going with whatever the crowd wants. So I really wanted to highlight that, and then also just deception and how we can be deceived very easily. And the Bible talks about that a lot of different areas. And I feel like it's very relevant nowadays with kids because I feel like they are being deceived in a lot of different areas. So I think this is kind of like a good way to introduce them to ways that you can think are innocent, but are actually very harmful. So,
right. Yeah. I think that's one thing, the first Frozen movie was huge, but I think what was really powerful about that was that the villain was who we thought Anna was going to, marry, who she was in love with. And I really loved that they introduced this character that was deceptive. And by all accounts, he was handsome. He could sing. He, could finish her sandwiches, those kind of silly things. But, it was, not looking to the heart, not seeing what was deeper. And I really appreciated the conversations that came from me and my kids after we watched that movie, because sometimes the villain or the not so great character does look great by the outside, but it's that inside that just we have to be able to discern.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's great about what your book is doing, is just allowing those conversations to, it's not end up all flowery and perfect, but, learning through the process, which is what great middle grade books usually do.
I love that you brought up the Frozen character, because my kids love Frozen. I think that'd be a great way to talk about that with them too.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that, I don't know, with our culture these days and everybody coming from almost a different moral center, we're having to be more discerning and teach our kids at young ages to discern what is true and what is good and lovely and all those things too. Now, Marina, did you always want to be an author?
No, actually, I wanted to be a teacher and a stay-at-home mom, which I was. I taught for 6 years, 4th and 5th grade. And then when I had my son, I became a stay-at-home mom. So becoming an author was actually something that I started doing because I was reading a bunch of picture books with my son. And I was like, oh, I like all these story ideas. And I taught writing, too, to my students. So I had a lot of practice telling stories to my 4th and 5th graders. So I was like, and I think that's why, like, when I would write my picture books, people kept telling me, this sounds like a book for like an older audience. And I think that's because I was always around the 4th and 5th grade students, and I'm used to that kind of literature. So that's why I think I naturally fell into that.
Mm-hmm. Very neat. And what is it? So of the books that you read with your 4th and 5th graders, what was your favorite to read?
Oh, boy. Well, I really loved Sideways stories from Wayside School because I would read that aloud to a lot of my classes just because it was funny. And I feel like humor is just a great way to fall in love with reading. It's lighthearted. There's no heavy stuff. They were very short chapters. So my students, when I read aloud, it's just boom. If I don't have a lot of time, I'd read a quick little chapter and they'd be like, oh, please don't stop. And, once we finished that book, it's a series, so my kids went on to read the next book. And that's the whole goal, is to make sure students are falling in love with reading. And then they have a plan when they're done with the book of what they're going to read next. And so that's kind of what I wanted to do. That was my strategy with reading Sideways stories from Wayside School.
Yeah, the Sideways stories from Wayside School are big favorites of my kids too. And I love that humor just has a way of making things feel more comfortable, even so that, a kid that is struggling with reading, that can feel like, I just want to keep reading this because I am enjoying it. I'm laughing. There's naturally they're, I don't know, just falling in love with reading, like you said. And so, yeah, those are some really fun books. What is your favorite book?
Kids book or adult book?
Your favorite book. It can be anything.
Okay, well, probably wouldn't be something kids would read, but my favorite book is The Last Mrs. Parrish. And it's, psychological thriller, but I like it, again, because there's deception in it. And you'll see that. That's a theme in a lot of my books, is deception. But yeah, I really like that because I realized, I've had a hard time reading growing up. I didn't really like it a lot. And so when I found this book, and I could not put it down, I was just zooming through the pages, I realized, oh my gosh, reading can be fun. And I was really inspired to write a book that would make reading fun for kids and keep them guessing. So they're like, what's going to happen? I really wanted to write a book like that. And that actually inspired my other novel that I wrote back in 2020, and I'll be publishing this year. So that's why it's my favorite book.
Definitely has some inspiration all around, right?
Yes.
It's those books that impact us the most that we pull from. And, what is it? They say to read what you love. And if you love a certain style of book, you tend to write that style too, because it's something you enjoy so much. So that's lots of fun. Now, you mentioned this a little bit, that you have another book coming out here soon. Tell us a little bit about that one.
So that is called Confessions of a Stepsister, and that is all about a wedding. So my little tagline is something old, something new, something borrowed, stolen too. And so it's all about a 12-year-old girl named Emma, and she is trying to sabotage her soon-to-be stepsister in hopes of becoming the maid of honor in their parents' wedding. And so my other character, Charity, starts to suspect, something's a little off about her, and she stumbles upon shocking evidence, and she learns the power of forgiveness. So that kind of has like a biblical tie-in. That one for sure talks a lot about the Bible. So when starting off, it probably won't seem like it talks a lot about the Bible, but there's a huge lesson at the end about forgiveness and talking about Jesus. So I do talk a lot about there's scripture actually in the book, but it is very different from Sincerely Diary.
Very neat, but I love that you are continuing on with that, stepping into hard places that kids do experience and have a hard time navigating their own emotions and their own feelings, their identity, and how to handle other people's drama too. And, that's definitely something I wish I had a little bit more insight into when I was 12 or 11, because maybe that wouldn't have led to so much drama in my own life, right? But I love that you're equipping young kids with just this idea that the world isn't perfect, but we can continue to work within our world, and having a firm grasp of who we are is important, no matter whether, with your Sincerely Diary, which is more of a general market book, or with this next one that's coming out, being a little bit more, having more of a Christian theme of forgiveness, but in each, no matter where you come from, we all need a little bit of help to deal with those things, right?
Yes, definitely.
Too fun. Well, so this second book, remind me of the title again.
Confessions of a Stepsister.
Confessions of a Stepsister. I like that. Now, when is that set to come out?
Oh gosh, I don't have a date yet, but we did just start working on the cover and the internal illustrations. So I know our deadline for the artwork is May, so maybe August. We'll see.
Fingers crossed, right? You never know how it's going to go, but that's exciting that you hope to have that finished this year and out soon. So very fun. Now, where can people find out more about you and your books?
And they can go to my website, which is www.marinadoughty.com. And they go to the free tab. I have the devotional on there. They can get it for free if they sign up for my email list. I also have a book club bundle that they can get, and that's not related to the Bible. It's just, activities they can do that go along with my book. And they can get that for free too when they join my email list. My name is spelled MarynaDoughty. So if you have trouble finding my website, check the spelling.
We'll definitely make sure to have that link in our descriptions in the podcast and video and all those things, so everybody can make sure to find you just right.
Okay.
So, well, thank you so much, Marina, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
It's been my pleasure, and thank you for joining Marina and me on this episode of the BookWorthy podcast. Check the show notes for any books or links that we discussed, and let us know in the comments where your middle school experience landed on a scale of 1 to 10, so we can all process the pre-teen trauma together. Be sure to like and subscribe and discover more great books together. Happy reading.